Okay, so have you ever been having a conversation and someone just says something so asinine, you're like, are you okay? Like, bro, are you okay? Like, did you think about how stupid that sounds? Well, the Reddit we're jumping into today is moments of cisgender people saying things that make you wonder, are the cis okay? Let's jump into that video.
And the person's like, love is love. Netherlands, an example to the world. And then this jackass is like, and now it's normal if you identify as a unicorn. Buddy, what the fuck are you talking about? Nobody's identifying as unicorns. Like, that makes no fucking sense at all. Get a life. Ah, yes. Preferred pronouns equals training you to accept lies. If you're a girl, why do you need to list your pronouns? If you replace preferred pronouns with training you to accept lies, then you understand their agenda. What agenda? Their agenda to be treated with dignity and respect? That agenda? What are you even talking about? Like, they understand it when it's their dog. And what I mean is, like, you walk up to the dog and you're like, "Oh, that's your dog. She's really pretty." And they're like, "He, my dog's a he." They completely understand it at that point. But the whole called preferred pronouns, I don't really like that phrase, preferred pronouns. It's not preferred pronouns. That's actually their pronouns. So I don't know why people use the term preferred pronouns. But that is their pronouns. So I mean, the correct sentence would be like, what are your pronouns? And then this person's like, if you're a girl, why do you need to list your pronouns? Because some people aren't able to tell like what a person's pronouns are. That's why, or what they go by. For instance, just because the person looks what you think might be female, their pronouns may be they them. They may be non-binary, but I mean that would require you to actually have a brain. So this person's like, it's the only way they acknowledge trans men's existence. I mean, if it's got tits, it's a she, right? You do know that we all humans got tits. Yeah, everybody's got titties. Like, some people's titties are bigger than other people's, but like, everybody's got them. Just like for most people that were assigned male at birth, they're just nipples there and there's not much to it. Yeah, but like big, massive, squishy ones typically screams girl. No, I'm just trolling, lol. People like you or white things like pepper spray. Oh, people like you are why things like pepper spray and tasers were invented. I'm a woman though, and yeah, like I don't even know what that person was. Like they claim they were trolling, and I don't really think that person was trolling. But yeah, like people like that person is why pepper spray and tasers were invented. People like that are the reason that Stalin lined people up against the wall and shot them. And this person's like, what? Which you'll see why after I read this. I also identify as a toilet seat. There are dozens of us. Yeah. You know that one phrase where it's like they got one joke and that's all they have? And it's always that one joke as identifying as an object. And they think it's like a gotcha. Like, I identify as this, so if you can identify as that, and it's just no. Your transphobia is like showing you can't say you're an inanimate object, and if you want to identify as an Apache attack helicopter, then I don't know, go get a surgery so you can have the helicopter blades. And since this person wants to identify as a toilet seat, I don't know, start letting people sit on you to use the restroom. Well, we'll see how long you go with that trolling there, buddy. Got called this over telling a TERF she was being ableist for calling me slow. I'm autistic and trans. Yeah, if you call somebody like, yeah, that I could see in that particular example that is definitely ableism. But let's see what the TERF said. TERFs define women as adult human females. You define females as just uterus, just used for pregnancy. We never said any of that. You're a delusional, cock-obsessed freak. It's a tiff. Don't bother yourself with her. Okay. The thing is no, that's what you TERFs actually define women as, because you're like, well, what makes that person not a woman? Well, it has to be the ability to give birth. If you can't give birth, then you're not a woman, or some stupid crap like that. This someone's context, they said someone with OCD wanted to remove their left eye. And somebody's like, I hope no doctor would remove someone's healthy eye. Bro, you just need to get this issue fixed ASAP. Don't do this to yourself, please. The regret you'd have with your left eye gone would be tremendous. And then this person, of course, had to make the issue into a LGBTQIA issue when it wasn't even that issue. What if he identifies as only having a right eye? Thankfully, that person was downvoted. It's like, why? Why do you think about the LGBTQIA plus community so much that you have to make somehow every conversation about that? Like, you're so obsessed with it. You think more about trans people than trans people think about trans people. He just made my argument for me, so let's see the thing. Typical trans person reality is constantly suspended for you in your head. If you're MTF, you're not F and never will be. If you're FTM, you're F and not M. But your suspended reality means roughing you can be. It's so cute how you had to say both because you don't know which one is supposed to offend me. You find honestly offensive because you cannot be honest with yourself. That for you to tell yourself you're completely different from what you're born as. I was born as a baby. What's so dishonest about that? Yeah, what that person said. We were all born as babies. That's what we were. So say, what were you born as? I was born as a baby. Dude, so were you. You were born a baby and given a gender due to your genitalia. You choose to disbelieve that decision based of nothing factual. If you cannot accept who you are, why must others accept who you decide you're going to be until you decide otherwise? It's the truth whether or not choose to accept it or not. That person that's like arguing with this person, I'm like getting a major headache from trying to understand what they're saying. It's like, yes, that person that was born a baby and given a gender due to genitalia. That's how they usually assign the gender at birth. And that's the entire concept, is that you can't just, based off of somebody's genitalia is not always the correct way to figure out what gender they are. But whatever. And someone's like, why are you obsessing over a baby's genitalia? Oh, that's sick. That is sick. Like, why are you obsessed with that dude? Why are you so worried about what in other people's pants? You do now realize it's not obsession. It's how kids have been gendered throughout human history. You feeling you aren't what you are and making everyone else agree with you is the obsession. You have no less rights than any other human, and you don't deserve more rights than any other human. Someone's like, history is full of scientific errors, hon. That is true. History is full of scientific errors. Did you know that Galileo was hunted down by the Catholic Church for most of his entire days because he disagreed with the so-called scientific fact of the time? Did you? Did you know? I'll when I edit it, I'll put the name of the scientist. But there was a particular scientist that, said, hey, so everything doesn't revolve around the Earth. In our solar system, everything revolves around the sun. And they were like, excuse me? So yeah, history is full of scientific errors. At one point, people thought the world was flat. And unfortunately, some people still think the world's flat because they're idiots. But the point being is history is full of things that we thought were factual. At one point in human history, people believed that babies could feel no pain. We know that's complete idiocracy and not true at all. So yeah, history is full of scientific errors. Like, I could make an entire video about all the unscientific things we thought. I mean, they used to drill holes in people's heads to cure mental illness and electrocute people too. Now we know that we shouldn't do that. You're not a scientific error. You're an adult having a temper tantrum because someone doesn't agree with your imaginary opinion. The only one here in this particular text, back and forth between these two people, is the person whose English is butchered and arguing with the person about, LGBTQIA issues. You're not a scientific error. Yes, that's my point. It's also hilarious that you accuse me of throwing a temper tantrum. Please show this conversation to a therapist. I know, right? Because that's what I was saying. Is it's like the other person is having a temper tantrum. You're a human being that is gender at birth due to genitalia. It's not science, it's human definition. Yeah, correct. Assigning somebody gender at birth based off their genitalia is not science. You got something right there. Good job. You deciding you have the wrong genitalias changes nothing. It cannot be cha, and no matter what you would do will changed. It's not science. Just quit while you're behind. I know, right? Because they just argued the point. It's like, yes, that is correct. That is not science at all. That's just like guesstimation. They just look and be like, well, this baby has a hot dog, so this baby's a boy. This baby has a taco, so this baby's a girl. And the whole entire concept of human and gender and all that is very complex. Like, it's a lot more complicated than that. But you know, these people that argue transphobic arguments don't even, their understanding of biology doesn't evolve past what they learned in 5th grade. Like, if you told them there was more than gas, and solid, they wouldn't understand that. They'd be like, what do you mean? There's only 3 forms of matter: liquid, solid, and gas. It's like, no, there's plasma and multiple. That's how science does. It gets more complex as you go. But yeah, this person, yeah, they basically proved your point. This person's like, is that a bruise? Oh, you know what? In that photograph, that does look like a bruise. Like, that person was. Anyways, it's like, trans shits be like, I believe that I'm a woman. That means you should use my pronouns and let me into the women's bathroom. If you don't, then you're a hateful prick. Some mess ups in that sentence there. Well, by that logic, I believe I'm a king, and that means you should refer to me as your majesty and bow down every time you see me. If you don't, you're a hypocrite. This argument is complete bullshit. And that's all I'm going to say about that. That's all we're going to say about that particular post. And we're just going to move on to the next one. Why does transphobia hide behind feminism so much? Gender-critical feminists are described in popular media outlet as anti-trans activists focused on excluding trans women from the ranks of women. That part's true because they are obsessed with phantom, imaginary, or statistical tiny incidences of violence perpetuated by this minority group against women. But gender-critical feminism is not about trans women. And this popular mischaracterization centers men in the narrative of movement created by women, for women, and about women. In this talk, I introduced gender-critical feminism and explained its roots in the radical feminism of the second wave and answered some of the most common objections. Note, in this video, I refer to 9 million witches being burned alive. This number comes from Andrew Dworkin's 1974 book, Women Hating, but the total is not thought to be significantly lower. For those who prefer to read blah, 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 blah. See, they like, oh, it has nothing to do with trans women. And then in their particular definition, it literally is. Because then they refer to trans women as men. So, trans women are women, trans men are men, and non-binary people are valid. But let's see what this idiot has to say. And answering the question, why do you hate trans women? Steph Shadjante wanted to examine why some people hate trans women, transgender people so much, but then started banging on about bathrooms, religion, and chromosomes. I said, I made a response for him anyways. Saying trans women are biologically male isn't violent. Saying they're perverts and rapists and sexists just for existing the way they do and treating them far worse than you treat regular men despite claiming to see them as male, while that still technically isn't violence, is getting damn close. Some literally are, especially AGPs. Saying trans women are men is violence. We're just gonna move on. We're not even justifying that with anything else. It's always this. Yep, seeing it already. It is always this. No, like they were born female, but want to identify as a man. I want to identify as a millionaire, but unfortunately, I can't. Technically, you could, like, identify as a millionaire. You could, like, actually. Other way, I mean, it's easier for you to become a millionaire than it is to become a billionaire. So you could easily become a millionaire, and then you literally would be a millionaire. See, the better example is if you currently are a millionaire, right? and then you tell people you're a millionaire, and then they're like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Just because to them you don't look like a millionaire. That would be the better example. Because obviously you're a millionaire, but let's say you were dressing in regular clothes and you were like living and you decide to live in a cardboard box for some reason as a millionaire, and they're like, well, you're not a millionaire, you don't look like a millionaire to me. That's exactly the better example, because that's what people do to trans women. They're like, well, you don't look like a woman to me. So that would be the better example. And it's not that person like they want to identify as a man. It's like, no, that trans man is a trans man. They don't want to identify as anything. That's who they are. It's not identifying as something. It's just being true to who they are. And this person's like, what does runs like a man even mean? All right. Oh, Piers Morgan. Great. Piers Morgan is like the UK version, if you will, of O'Reilly. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Is Piers Morgan is the UK version of Bill O'Reilly. Absurd CNN interview just now with trans sprinter Cece Telfler, treating her like some poor victim of Trump's ban on trans athletes in women's sports. She was born man, looks and speaks like a man, runs like a man, and is smashing women's records. She's not a victim. She's a cheat. You know, you almost had it there, buddy. Like, you were using her proper pronouns. You were referring to her as a her, even though you were also committing transphobia by saying she was a man. But, like, what do you mean looks and speaks like a man? Like, how exactly does one do that? And then you're like, runs like a man. What the hell does that even mean? How does one run like a man? Like, I would really like to know how one does that. But is it because she has a deep voice? Because there's that one actress that was in the series The Expanse, and she's a cisgender woman, and her voice is deep. So I don't know how one sounds or speaks like a man. Neither do you, though, probably. You just like running your mouth. You probably, identify as a decent person, but in reality, you're a piece of shit. Why do I have a feeling that by pushing he actually means just being asked to respect their pronouns and names? Why don't they push pork on Muslims like they do LGBTQ on Christians? Nobody's pushing it. Just asking you to show somebody some dignity and respect is not pushing anything. I mean, what this person means is like, why do I have to tolerate somebody else's human rights? And this person's like, badass. So this, of course, is written by parents with inconvenient truths. So a transphobic group. It creeps into morning consciousness, still fresh and naive. It sucks the life out of it. Pastel colors of a once calm mind turn gray and staticky. A new day that was supposed to mean new opportunities and mundane magic is now a pointless stack of minutes and hours, like old gum peeled thin and long. It collects mother's tears, gulps vitality, and steals father's sleep and dignity. It turns them into some unfathomable currency called euphoria. A child in pain trains her wholeness for it. It doesn't kill hope immediately. It plays with it for a while, suffocates it almost to the point of death, leaves it breathless, then resuscitates it for a few moments, lets it linger, and the cycle goes on and on. Eventually, something dies out. Myocarditis of the soul. Its name is trans. So I had to read it like that because they were making it sound metal as fuck, and they're so full of shit. Transphobes always are so full of shit. Oh, fun. So, I mean, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security is just saying that, part out loud, because the Department of Homeland Security has always been racist. Like, it was founded in 2003, after the war in Iraq and Afghanistan started. And why? It was because George W. Bush wanted to deport the non-white people out of the country that he didn't like, specifically Muslims. So the Department of Homeland Security was specifically created to target brown Muslim people because George W. Bush is a racist. The entire Bush family is a bunch of racists. I mean, Republican racism is like synonymous. They're, synonyms. Like, if somebody says they're Republican, you can just automatically assume they're a racist piece of shit. But anyways, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's Twitter page, I'm assuming this is like, deport them. So not only is their comment racist, but they decided to be transphobic at the same time. They wanted to double down on their bigotry. Somebody's like, BRB, go to check my clavicles. They're trans investigating JFK. Oh my god, they are. They're like, look at the clavicles on JFK. They're trying to say that John Fitzgerald Kennedy is a woman. They're trans investigating a dead president. That is how delusional they've gotten. They always accuse people that are trans of being delusional, but really, in reality, it's the transphobes that are delusional. You could post any photo of any cisgender individual that they might not know, and then like pretend that that person's trans. You could like post a picture of Jon Stewart and say, this is my trans man friend, right? And let's say they didn't know who Jon Stewart is. They would trans investigate him because that's how delusional they are. They're the real delusional ones. Yeah, but if you went inside and demanded someone make you a pizza, you'd get some funny looks. No matter what you do to this building, everyone knows it used to be a Pizza Hut. That's what the trans community fails to understand. No, because I've known plenty of Pizza Huts that have gotten a paint job and had a lot of, construction work done to it, and it no longer looks like a Pizza Hut. So your argument is null and void. And are you comparing people to buildings? You're comparing people to inanimate objects. Get some help. And so it's like LGBTQAI, the divorce is final. Lesbian, gay, male, bisexual, patriots. What the fuck? No. See, the people that usually say this, they're like, the L and the G and the B are breaking away from the rest of it, are not even LGBTQAI themselves. They're not even members of the LGBTQAI plus community at all. They're not. They're usually straight people that decided that they were, and the few that are part of the queer community, they're usually racist as well. Like, it's not a shocker. For them to be prejudiced against, one type of marginalized community, it makes sense that they'd be, prejudiced against another type of the, marginalized community. And most of the people that are LGBT, that are anti-trans, like I said, they're usually, racist, but they also don't know their own history. I think we've reacted to this one before. And so this little comic strip, and it's like, yo, I found an adult to buy us beer. Bussin'. What the heck? What the shit? They're like, oh, like this person's like, what do young people say? Like this is, I do know what bussin' means, but I don't think anybody of my age or anybody that's older than the Gen Z people should be saying Gen Z phrases. But here it goes, yo, the fuck? And they're losing the hair, right? And it goes, bro, my hairline just did a speed run. Why do I suddenly feel the urge to start a polycule? That's not even what estrogen does. Like, if they were on HRT, right, feminizing HRT, which I'm assuming that's what this little comic strip is supposed to be, they wouldn't be, their hairline wouldn't recede. It would do the opposite. But whatever. I mean, expecting transphobic people to understand how testosterone and estrogen works would be a fucking miracle to expect them to understand that.
That is all for the video, of this particular video. Tell us in the comment section of what you thought of any of the particular content in this video that we did. We'd love to hear your feedback, but make sure in the comment section that you keep it good, because hate has no home here. Like that thing right behind me says. This is a safe space for marginalized groups. So any bigotry, any homophobia, transphobia, or any phobia like that, any racism, your comment will be deleted and you will be blocked. And if you want to see more of this content, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be notified of future videos or to join the Fox Den. Anyways, thank you for watching. I've been your host, Kai. Until next time, peace out. I'll see you in the next video.
for the workers, for the nurses on their feet, for the teachers buying pencils, for the families in the heat. Power to the people isn't just a slogan on a wall. When we organize together, we don't rise up, we all rise up.
Healthcare on the table, but your credit's running thin. Pre-existing condition means the system won't let you in. Meanwhile, lobbies line the hallways, writing up the bill. Profit over patient, and they call that goodwill. Housing is a human right, not a hedge fund asset play. But investors buying blocks, pricing working folks away. 40% of rent just so somebody